Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We should be here today for the Simplex-IT monthly office webinar. Today we're going to talk about working remotely and using Office 365 to work remotely more effectively. So I use the word remotely for any time you're not in the office. To me, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're not in the office, it doesn't matter if you're at home, a coffee shop, on the road, a neighbor's house, a friend's house, whatever. You're not in the office. So we'll talk about ways to use some of the tools that you have in Office 365 to work more effectively when you're not in the office. As a side note to that, I hope you had a chance to check out the blog article I wrote. Something that I feel passionate about is working remotely and giving people the opportunity to work where they feel they work the best. So for some people, that's an office that's very busy and lots of activity, and for other people, it's a very quiet area, maybe their home or somewhere where they choose to just sort of block themselves off from everybody else. So I think it's really interesting companies that do allow folks to work from home or work remotely. I think they get a different different perspective on being in the office. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that there's things that we all need to be in the office for. I'm in the office today for a few meetings, but I do like to take advantage of working remotely when I can. All right, why don't we get started? It looks like there's some other people joining us, so that's wonderful. Please let me know if you have any problems with the audio. I do have the conversation window open. I'm kind of keeping half an eye on. So if you've come to any of our other webinars in the past, you know that we partnership with a lot of great companies, Microsoft, Sophos, Level Platform, Cisco. We do work with a lot of these great companies. Should Simplex IT be your IT department? We sure hope so. So if you can answer yes to any one of these questions, please let us know. I do see some existing clients on the line, so it's wonderful to see you, and hope we're doing a great job for you. Future events coming up for the rest of the year and also into next year. I can't believe we're wrapping up 2016 already. The most exciting news that we have is that our annual Geek Raffle is tomorrow. So if you're local to the Northeast Ohio area, please come out and see us. We're doing this in Hudson this year. Last year was our first time we did this at the Malted Meeple. We used to do it at various locations. Actually, Hattie Larlam itself, we used to do it at their cafe in Hudson too. But tomorrow we're doing it at the Malted Meeple in Hudson, right off of 91. And we actually, our techs go out and pick out a lot of great prizes, usually from thinkgeek.com or some other favorite sites that we have, and they buy a bunch of great prizes, and then you come, we provide lunch for you, you buy raffle tickets, they're $1 a piece, and you can enter to win the various drawings for the different prizes. So this year we're doing it a little bit differently, where you actually get to pick which prizes you want to enter your raffle tickets for. So we're really excited about that. We'll also have Morgan from Back to Basics. She's a massage therapist that Bob so kindly has hired on for the Simplex IT staff. So she treats us to chair massages, and she'll be donating her time also at the raffle. So she'll be set up. And we can take advantage of her time for a quick chair massage as well. And I do believe that she is putting together a gift basket too. So it'll be a good time. Like I said, it's totally free. We're just going to have lunch and then do the raffle. So we had a really great time at the Malted Meeple last year, and I know that it'll be a great time again tomorrow. On December 17th, we're doing a preview webinar. So this is a preview to an event that we're having on January 17th. January 17th, or I'm sorry, January 11th. January 11th, we're doing IT trends for 2017. So for those of you who have been with us for a few years, you know that Bob does this every year. In the beginning of January, just sort of projects the trends that are going to be something to keep an eye out for in the next year. And it does have a business focus, trends that'll help your business grow, work more effectively, prosper, etc. So we're doing a preview webinar for that on December 15th. December 20th will be our next monthly project webinar. So we'll talk about how to manage multiple projects in Project Online. And then, like I mentioned, January 11th is the IT Trends lunchtime seminar. So that is actually here in person at our office in Stow. If you've been to our office before, we are located right off of 91 in Stow, right on the corner of Darrow Road and Arndale. So we have a great training area set up that we can do these seminars. All right, and then after the lunchtime seminar on January 11th, as far as webinars go, the office webinar for January 17th will be tips and tricks to save you some time in the new year. So I'm just going to go through and pick out my favorite tips and tricks in Word and Excel and PowerPoint and SharePoint and Office 365 and whatever we can find here at Simplex-IT and share that with you. And then the end of January, we'll be doing a project management webinar on managing resources. We have a lot of great events coming up here in January. Of course, Simplex-IT does a little bit more than just IT. We also have a DBA branch where Doug Tombo heads that up, and he ensures the health, performance, and usefulness of your data is as good as it can be for your application. So making sure that that data is easily accessible and quickly accessible by those who need it and not by those who don't need it. And then Simplex PM is the branch that I head up. I'm helping project managers at small to mid-sized companies get more proficient, more efficient with project management using the tools that Microsoft provides. So if we can help you with either one of those, please feel free to reach out to me. All right, so let's talk a little bit about working remotely with Office 365. If we were all in a room together, I'd ask for a show of hands, but it's a little bit harder online. But if you want to type in the conversation window, you can. I'm just kind of curious how many people on the line are working from home or working remotely, or maybe work for companies that have an open telework policy where you can work wherever you'd like. I think it's a great benefit for people who might not always like to work in the office, or maybe it's not convenient to work in the office. I wrote in my blog article that I'm easily distracted, so I was working in the office quite a bit, and I felt like I wasn't getting as much done as I used to, and it sort of dawned on me that it was because I was spending a lot of time in the office. I was letting myself get a little too distracted. So I worked from home for a little bit and got myself caught up. So that's just my personality. I have so many friends that when they hear that I work from home, sometimes they say, "Oh, there's no way I could do that. I need the interaction. I need to go into the office. I thrive on that. I enjoy that, and that's wonderful." And I do too. I love my coworkers, but when I need to get something done, I can't have any distractions. So that's wonderful. I see that a few folks here are replying and saying that they're working from home now, or that they work occasionally from a remote location. So that's great. So hopefully you're using Office 365. If you're not, I still think that this webinar will be beneficial to you because you can see some of the tools that Office 365 provides. So this is just a quick little punch list of what I wanted to go over today. I do want to touch a little bit on SharePoint, how we can use that for central file location. We can do workflows in SharePoint, which is sort of a little bit more of an advanced topic, but a more time-consuming topic than what we have time for today. So as I was putting this agenda together, I was thinking maybe we should do that for another webinar. So maybe look for that in February, March, where we'll touch on workflows in SharePoint. And just to define it, a workflow is basically just a way to move one thing along in a process. So let's say that you have an approval form that you need to send off. And just for giggles, it's any purchase over $100 needs to be sent through the office manager and approved by the purchasing manager. So you could fill out a form, you could send it to the office manager, they could do what they need to do to the form, they could send it to the purchasing manager, they get the approval, they give the approval, you get an email or a notification back saying that it has gone through all the steps and that you now have approval to order that whatever you need to order. So it's something that's fairly easy to do in SharePoint, and I think it'd make for a great webinar. So we'll look to do that in the beginning, first quarter next year. I do want to touch very briefly on Skype for Business. I know that we've had webinars on this in the past, but I do just very quickly want to touch on some of the features that you can use with Skype for Business in case you missed that webinar. I do want to talk about co-authoring and collaboration in all of the Office programs like Word and Excel. It's very similar in all of them, so we'll just pick one. We'll talk about how to view calendars and how to share calendars, and then if we have time, we'll touch on team sites, because team sites can be a great way to save some time and work more effectively remotely as well. While I switch over here, I did just want to mention that when we're working remotely, um, a lot of times uh, it's more of the people that we work with might not quite know how to handle somebody that's working remotely. So in a previous job, if somebody worked remotely, those of us back in the office, I would often hear people say, you know, well, we'll talk to him tomorrow when he's in the office, or I don't want to bother him while he's working remotely. And that right there is probably the biggest issue that people have with working remotely. Because when I work from home, I'm expect to be fully available. People can call me. You know, I'm truly working. I'm just not in the office. So if I find out that somebody's, you know, waiting to have a meeting with me, or they don't want to email me because they don't want to bother me, then I feel bad that my work didn't get done, or that they were, you know, holding things off because I wasn't actually in the office. So it's very much a culture within your organization that everybody has to work the same way. So you have to, you know, come to an agreement that when you're working from home, you are to be notified or bothered or bugged, or whatever term you want to use. You are to be available just as you would in the office. Or if that doesn't work for your company and you prefer more of a um, more of a remote emphasis on the remote part of working remotely, then that's fine. But everybody should be at least on the same page with that. Okay. So up on the screen here, you see a Word document that I have open. I have actually, you probably are very familiar with this because this is the email that was sent out with all of the connection information for today's webinar. I have this actually stored in a Word document, and it's saved up to SharePoint so that we can all access it. And usually what happens is either Kayla or I will come in and make changes to whatever needs to be changed, and then just copy and paste it in an email to everybody who has signed up for their webinar. So you can see here that she came in and made the change to, she changed the title to Working Remotely in Office 365, which is what we call it quite frequently. And then I decided I wanted it, spelled out, so I changed it to Office 365. And I actually did this on my other computer last night. So then when I got to work this morning, I saw that I had a conflicting change, and you can see here it's underlined and it's a conflicting change. I can choose to accept it or reject it. So it's just saying that, hey, this one item on this Word document was changed in 2 different ways. Which one do you want to keep? So I thought that was great, and when it popped up this morning, I thought, well, that's awfully serendipitous of our for our webinar today. So I wanted to leave it up just to kind of show that to you. So here I can choose to accept or reject either one of them. I'm just going to choose to reject my change and move on to the next. And then this one I will accept and move on to the next. So here I've actually accepted both of them. But either way, you can see that these changes do come through if you have a conflict. That's always the number one question I get is when we're talking about working with is, what if somebody changes one thing, especially in Excel. There's always those few cells that are the ones that we update. So, what if somebody changes that and somebody else changes it before I have a chance to see it? Then how do I know what that history was? So that'll pop up for you in your conflict tracking there. So now I have no more conflicts. I can close that conflict view, and I can go back to my Word document, which is here. I can choose to save the document, and I'll just click on save, and that'll save with all the same information. So you'll notice if there was anybody else in this document, I should have had somebody sign on and open it up before the webinar. But if there was anybody else here, I would be able to see them over here on the right-hand side. I would see their name listed here. So right now, there's nobody else editing this, but I can share this document with somebody. So let's say that I created this and I saved it out in SharePoint somewhere, and I wanted somebody to take a look at it. Instead of saving it to my computer and attaching it to an email and sending it to them, I can just share it with them. And then that way when they open it, they're opening the original version of that document, so that then when they make changes, that document contains the changes, or the document that contains the changes is out in SharePoint. I don't have to worry about going back and finding it in my email and then having two different versions of it. So here, if I wanted to share this, I can just click on share and I can select who I want to share it with, and then I can share that. And here it's saying I don't have permission to send invitations or links, so I don't know why it's saying that. I do have permission. So here, if I wanted to share it with Kayla, I can just share it, select Kayla and share it with her. Or I can choose to send it as an attachment. One thing to be aware of, if you're sending it outside your organization, sometimes it's difficult to share it. So if I'm sending it to a client or somebody that I'm working with outside my organization, I'll often do the send a copy, or it's very convenient to just do a send as PDF. Send a PDF, and it just creates the PDF and attaches it to an email for me. You'll notice also, if somebody else is working in this document, anytime they make changes, you'll see it pops up on your screen real time. If you've used Google Docs, it's very similar to Google Docs, where you'll actually see that it says, Bob is typing, and then you'll see what Bob is typing here. So it's very nice. Okay, so that's co-authoring and collaboration, basically just when two people have that same document open and you're both making changes to it. It makes it really nice when you're working on something together. You can do a screen share, but this is even more convenient. No, in addition to collaboration and co-authoring,
is now exiting.
we want to take a look at SharePoint file organization. So I have that open in a screen also in the background, and this is actually our SharePoint document library for marketing. So nothing too terribly interesting here. I just wanted to show you and kind of what it looks like and how we have it organized, which is probably a bad choice on my part, because we sometimes don't always organize and keep our files up to date like we should. But for example, let's say that I'm working on something from home and I need to find my logo. So I would log on to SharePoint and I would go into marketing, and then we actually have a folder called logos, and everything is here for me. So I don't have to worry about running into the office to get something off of my computer, because it's stored in SharePoint. I can access it from anywhere. So I can go into company, and then you'll see the various logos here where we have them saved. So these are available to me from any network connection. I use a Mac at home. I have a Mac laptop. So it doesn't matter if I'm using my Mac or my Windows PC, I can still access all of these SharePoint files. So it makes it nice for being able to access files when you're working from home. You don't have to be actually in the office and logged on to your domain. You can do that from anywhere, and Office 365 makes that very easy. The other thing that I wanted to mention was using the Office 365 portal. So using the portal here, I just logged into portal.office.com, and here I can see my mail. And then in addition to my email, I can use my menu button here, and I can open up all of the other programs that I have access to. So for example, I can look at my calendar, OneDrive, SharePoint, my task list, Planner View, OneNote. So all of these, although they may be installed on your work computer, although you may have Word and Excel installed on your work computer, if you have an iPad at home or a laptop or a home computer and you're using Office 365, you should be able to access all of these through this web browser, so you don't have to have them installed. However, you can, because any version or most versions of Office 365 come with up to 5 install licenses for each program. So for example, because I have Office 365, I can install it on my work computer, on my home computer. For me, I have a MacBook and a Dell Windows laptop, so I can install it on both laptops, maybe my iPad. So I can install it on up to 5. But if you didn't install it, or if you didn't want to install it, you can still access it from this portal. So here I can go into, maybe Word and create a Word document here, assuming that I don't have Word installed on this computer, or if I just wanted a quick and easy way to modify it. And here you can see this webinar reminder text, which is the one that I just had open, is available here for me as well. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about, and I did just want to save a few minutes to talk about this, is Skype for Business. So you've all called into this webinar using Skype for Business. So it makes it nice knowing that you've already done that, and I can point to the window that you should be seeing now too. So right now, just to kind of show you the Skype for Business window, right now this is how we use it here at Simplex-IT. The two people that I tend to Skype the most are Bob and Kayla, so they're up here in my favorites. I think once you show more activity on one contact versus another, they automatically appear in your favorites. However, you can right-click on any contact and add them to your favorites as well. So I can right-click on Alla here and add them to my favorites. But let's say that I'm working from home and I need Kayla to, check something that came in the mail. So I can double-click on Kayla here, and an instant message pops up, and I can type out, hey, can you check this for this package in the mailroom? And she can, reply back and say, yep, it's here, or no, it's not. So that's just a general instant messaging. But from there, what's kind of nice, and we end up doing this more often than not, are these three buttons down at the bottom. So here I can choose, as we're having a conversation back and forth, and I'll just type in some garbage here, but as we're having a conversation back and forth, if I say, you know what, can I just give you a call, then I can click on the call button, and that actually calls her office, or I'm sorry, it calls her Skype for Business, calls her computer line. So she can just pick it up and her phone doesn't ring, but it calls through her computer, which is great. Same thing with a video call. If I wanted to have a video call, I can click on video call, and then as long as you have a webcam set up, you can have that calling back and forth. And then the present button allows you to present your desktop, which is exactly what I'm doing here for this webinar. So I'm just presenting my desktop. Anything on my desktop is being shared with all of you. I can choose to send files. I can set something for high importance. Of course, I can use different emoticons. Those are always fun to play with. And then using the little ellipsis button, I can choose to record, change my instant message text, font, what have you. So in addition to sending an IM, if I right-click on a contact, now remember I had started with an IM and then said, I want to give her a call, or I want to send her an email. Here, if I knew that right away, I could just right-click and select call, start a video call, send an email message. I kind of like that too. Sometimes I forget it's even there because I'll go over to Outlook, but if you're already in your Skype window and you want to send a quick email, you can just right-click and send email. If you want to schedule a meeting with somebody, again, right-click and schedule meeting. You can find previous conversations. You can organize your contacts into groups. Tag for status changes. That's whenever somebody becomes available or goes away, you'll actually get an alert that pops up. So if you're waiting for somebody to return, that's actually a great way to get flagged when they return. Change privacy relationship, that's just how much they can see of your information, and then contact card is all of their information. So you can also set your own information. So here, because I'm sharing my screen with all of you, it says that I'm presenting, which is kind of nice. It automatically did that for me, and it sets it to do not disturb. I did put in my status that I'm doing a webinar from 10 to 10:30. So if anybody's looking for me, they know that I'm in the office with the door closed doing this webinar, and then I'll be available at 10:30. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you, just very quickly, we've talked about this in some of our other project management webinars, but I did just want to show it to you very briefly. In Project Online, it's actually a SharePoint component, so you could use this for SharePoint, or you could use these SharePoint features without using Project Online, but I just happen to have it set up in Project Online. You can have different team sites, or in this case project sites, set up so that everything is all in one place. That is the most common thing that I hear from people who are struggling to work effectively either remotely or work on projects effectively is, you know, we just need one place to go where everything is, and I have to go here and there to find everything. So if you can relate to that, work sites might be an option for you. So here you can actually create a notebook, a OneNote notebook. You can have a place to store all of your documents, tasks, a central calendar. Projects and project details appear because I'm using Project Online. You can have deliverables, risks, and issues. So here, let's just say notebook. You know, if you're using OneNote, this is something that's a New Year's resolution of mine, is to use OneNote more actually it doesn't have to be OneNote, but just to document our processes a little bit better. And I was thinking about using OneNote for that. So for me, if I'm using OneNote, it'd be nice to be able to have a notebook for each, you know, each different work area that we do. So let's say for marketing campaigns, I might have a OneNote notebook for marketing campaigns, and then in each tab I could have, you know, maybe mailing campaigns or different incentives that we do, you know, different events that we have, and then within each tab I could list out the steps that we do for each, for preparing for each type of campaign. So it's nice because then it's all in one place in my SharePoint site. So typically your SharePoint sites are much more than just files, list of files like what you saw on our SharePoint site, although it can be a list of files like what you see here. But it also can contain different components like a discussion board, a calendar, announcements, emails, groups, different things like that. So I saw that there was a question in the chat about what the difference is between OneDrive and SharePoint, and that's the biggest difference. OneDrive is basically a central place to store files, and you can share them from there, and then SharePoint does that as well, but then there's also these different components where you have you know, the option to add tasks or a calendar view or a discussion board to different pages within SharePoint. So it's really nice for team collaboration. And that's actually another good topic for a webinar in the future. Hopefully I've answered it very briefly for you, but I'd like to maybe do a webinar on the differences between OneDrive and SharePoint, and then maybe go into creating SharePoint sites for projects or team sites for projects, because it is nice to be able to have you know, one place to go for a list of tasks or for a central calendar. Like I said, if I wanted to, I could create a discussion board below or an announcements list below. So it makes it nice to have one place. So I've got some good ideas from this webinar for future webinars, which is quite timely since we're putting our list together for next year already. So, okay, I'm noticing that it's about 10:30, so we should probably wrap it up. If there are any other questions, please enter them into the chat window. I'll try to get to them. If you think of something after we wrap up, then please don't hesitate to email me.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
Up on the screen here, it's just Patti@simplex-IT.com. If you shoot me an email, I'll be more than happy to get back to you. All right, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.